Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video I'm going to be demonstrating the stitch pattern that I used to create a couple of different patterns that are free on mooglyblog.com, the Oh My cowl and the Oh My hat. And I hope to add more Oh My patterns as time permits. Both of these items are made using LB Collection Baby Alpaca and a J-hook. This one is from Furls. Since both of these patterns so far are worked in the round, I'll be demonstrating the stitch pattern worked in the round today. So let me set these aside and pull up our work here. Now, like I said, this is worked in the round and it's a stitch multiple of 8. So when you chain to begin one of these, it'll be a multiple of 8 plus 1. That 1 is a turning chain. So for the first round, I've worked a round of single crochets and joined it to work in the round. Just creates a nice base for this stitch pattern. So let me get my hook back in there and pull tight. I always feel like when I'm working with baby alpaca, like I need to be on my best behavior with the yarn. It's so luxurious and so soft. So I guess I'm going a little bit slower today. All right, so once we've got our round of single crochets, we're ready to begin the stitch pattern. So to do that, we're going to chain 1, single crochet in the first stitch right there, right under both loops. And then from there, we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. And then in the next stitch, we're going to work our big shell. Now the big shell is 4 double crochets, chain 1, 4 double crochets, all worked into the same stitch. Whatever stitch it is that happens to be indicated in the pattern at that point. Oops. So let me make 4 double crochets here. That's 3 and 4. First half of our big shell. Chain 1 and then right back in that same stitch again for 4 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, from there, we once again skip 3 stitches and single crochet in the next. And then you can see this is going to be our basic repeat. Skip 3 and another big shell. Skip 3, single crochet. And we do that on around until we've gotten to the end of round 2. So I will see you at the end of round 2. Okay, so here we've got a little bit closer look. We've got our big shell, skip 3, single crochet, skip 3, big shell, all the way around. So we're going to join to that first single crochet we made. So I will go under the top 2 loops. And then to finish this row, I'm going to go ahead and pull up color B. In this case, the first one, color A here, was a tan. This one is a white. So I will yarn over with that one. I'm just going to kind of hold on to both ends here so it doesn't escape, and pull it through that stitch and through that last loop of our last double crochet there. And that is how we switch colors to begin the next row. Now, and I want to make sure, let me kind of pull this up out of the way a little bit here. I want to make sure I have a nice long end here because I don't want it to pull out, and I'll be weaving that in when I'm done with my project to secure the start of color B here. So make sure you've got a good 6 inches or so, even longer if you feel like it might be an issue. But go ahead and start what's going to be round 3 of the pattern. And this one, round 3 here, is actually going to be the first round of the stitch pattern repeat. It's a 4-row repeat, rows 3, 4, 5, and 6. So let's go ahead and start round 3. So continuing with this one, color B, we're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, let me move up a little bit on here, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now those 8 stitches are going to count as a double crochet and chain 5. So the first 3 are like a double crochet and the last 5 are like a chain 5. So this is going to be a big move here, and I think this is the part that probably throws people off. We're going to skip that entire big shell and make a V stitch in the following single crochet, all the way over here. Now a V-stitch for this pattern is double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So we're going to work all of that right in that single crochet stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet right back in that stitch. And that's our first V-stitch of the round. Now that chain 5, as you can see, it's a little tight, but go ahead and let that go, just fall right behind your big shell. We'll take care of that later. So we're going to repeat that again. We're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go, and 5. And then I'll make a V-stitch in the next single crochet. Let me get all my little ends out of the way here. I like working with 2 colors at once like this because we're only going to have the 4 ends to weave in when we're done, but it's important to keep them out of the way so you don't catch them in your stitches. So, like I said, we chain 5, skip the big shell, come all the way over here to the single crochet and work another V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet right back in that same spot. And that's our repeat for this round. Pretty simple. Chain 5, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep. Skip the big shell and V-stitch in the single crochet. And we are almost all the way around again. What I'm making here is a teeny tiny thing. This is not big enough to be a hat or a cowl, maybe for a preemie, or yeah, might have to be a preemie, but it's enough, I think, to give you an idea of how the stitch pattern works. So to finish out this round, I'm going to go ahead and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, one more, 5. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to double crochet and skip that big chain there, or that big shell rather. I'm going to double crochet in the same stitch we did our joining with, which was that first single crochet right there of round 2. After our round of single crochet, then we had the big shell round. It started with a single crochet. That's the one we want to go right back into with this last double crochet of this round. It's right there, right where our big chain 8 started. Oops, forgot to yarn over first. That would be helpful. There we go. Work a double crochet right there. Then we chain 1. And to finish that first V-stitch, I'm going to slip stitch in the 3rd chain. Remember we said of that chain 8, the first 3 counted as a double crochet. We're going to slip stitch into the 3rd one as if it was the top of that double crochet. So we'll go under both loops there. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this round with color B. We do the V-stitch round with a color, and then we do a big shell round with a color. So let's go ahead and start that big shell round. This is round 4 of the pattern, which is the 2nd round of the 4-row repeat. So to begin this one, I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these 4 chains are going to count as a double crochet and a chain 1. So that's how we'll treat them. Then, this is a little bit tricky. I'm going to make 4 double crochets. I'm going to make the 2nd half of a big shell in this V-stitch. So when you read the pattern, it'll say 4 double crochet in the chain 1 space before the join. Since we joined right here, we're going to be back in this chain 1 space that we just made. So we just go right in there and make our 4 double crochets. There's 1, back in that chain space, 2, 3, and 4, like so. So you can see you might be working a little bit over the bottom of that chain 4, but that's okay. We've got 2nd half of a big shell, plus a little bit of the 1st half there. And from here, we're going to continue on our round. So after you've made those 4 double crochets in that same chain 1 space, then you will, let me check the instructions here, I just want to make sure I get it right. Yes. Next, we're going to make a single crochet in the chain 1 space of the big shell 2 rounds previous. So we go over here to this big shell, we put our hook in there in the chain 1 space, and then we want to also go around that chain 5 and enclose that in there with a single crochet. Like so. You can see it pulls up there quite nicely, not too many gaps. So let's pull up some more yarn and we'll continue our pattern on this round. So I'm going to make a big shell in the chain 1 space of the next V-stitch here, same color. That's helpful too. You'll always work your big shells into the same color that you're using. So I make 4 double crochets in that chain 1 space, then I chain 1. Let me pull up a little bit more yarn here. There we go. It's getting caught on some of my stuff. Sorry about that. And then 4 more double crochets to finish our big shell. 3 and 4. So that's our big shell in the chain 1 space there. Then, without chaining or anything, let me pull my hair out of here. We're going to come over to the next chain 1 space in the previous big shell, insert our hook, go under and around that chain 5 to lock it down with a single crochet, and then we just continue that around. Work a big shell in the V-stitch, and then a single crochet through the chain 1 of the previous big shell, being sure to catch that chain 5. So I'll continue that one on around and see you at the end of this round. All right, so you can see I've got my big shells in my chain 1 spaces and my single crochets in the center of the previous big shells. So when I've come all the way around here, you can see in that first chain 1 space, we've got kind of a half shell that we started out making. So what I want to do now is finish that big shell. So I'm going to go back in that chain 1 space where we started this round, and finished the previous round, I should say. And we're going to work our last 3 double crochets in there. There's 1, and 2, and 3. And then we join. Remember we started with a chain 4 that we said counted as a double crochet in a chain 1. So we're going to slip stitch in the 3rd chain to finish our big shell. There we go. Now, oops, I almost pulled it through. This is where we change back to color A. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that and pick up the working end of color A once I find it there. There we go. And then I can yarn over and pull through with that one. Now, I want to show you something that happens when I do that. When I yarn over and pull through to finish that slip stitch, it's going to pull that yarn into the chain 1 space there so you can see it visually. So now that I've shown you what happens if you just do it that way, let me show you how to fix it. Let me pull that out real quick. There we go, and drop that again. And let me go back to these last 3 double crochets that I made in that chain 1 space. This is where we're going to bring up that next color so we can use it. We're going to go back in that chain 1 space, and before we yarn over and pull up our loop, we're going to find the working yarn for color A there, and just lay that over our hook so that we catch it and enclose it in these 3 double crochets. Can you see? I'm in the chain 1 space here, and by putting color A over the hook here, it will be enclosed in these last 3 double crochets, and that will hold it up and to the side and ready where we need it. And when I make the slip stitch here, you'll see that it is pretty well hidden. So let me insert my hook in that slip stitch, drop color B, go ahead and pick up color A like so, and pull through there, and you can see it's disappeared. It's still behind there a little bit, but I think once the pattern is all together, let me find the seam on the cowl here. Let's see, must be on the other side here. It's actually hard to find. You can see this is where the seam is, and you see it a little bit there if you really look for it, but it's much harder to find. It's pretty well hidden with that little maneuver. So let me set that aside again, and we will begin round 5, which is, of course, round 4. No, I have to keep checking my pattern. Sorry about that. Round 5 of the pattern, which is round 3 of the 4-round repeat. I know it's a little confusing. I confused myself there for a minute. So let's go ahead and continue with color A. Oops, I'm picking up the wrong one there. There we are, color A. And I am going to chain 1, like so, and then single crochet right in that chain 1 space from our first big shell, like so. You can see I've left color B behind there, out of the way. So we've got our single crochet in that chain 1 space, and then from there we are going to make a V-stitch in the next single crochet. So right here. Oh, I almost forgot. Important stuff. Chain 2 first. So after that single crochet, we chain 2, and then V-stitch in the single crochet. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in that chain 1 space right there, like so. That's going to be directly above the previous big shell of that color. And then from there, I'm going to chain 5. And this is back to our repeat from the last time we made V-stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, one more, 5. Skip over, pull up some more yarn here, skip over that big shell and come all the way over to this single crochet to make our V-stitch. The reason this one started a little differently is because we're starting from the middle of a big shell. That's why we had that first single crochet in the middle of a big shell back here. But for the most part, it's going to be chain 5, skip the big shell, V-stitch. So get a couple more chains here, and then we skip that big shell and V-stitch, and I will see you as I finish up this round. All right, so there's my last full V-stitch for this round. You can see we're coming back up on that space where we began. So to finish that out, since we can't chain 5 and skip all this, what we're going to do instead is chain 2 again, like so. Whoops, 1 and 2, and then we'll slip stitch to that first single crochet of the round. So if you think about it, we've got a chain 5 there, where we have to split it in half. We have a chain 2, a single crochet, and a chain 2, so it still adds up to 5 stitches there. So at this point, finally, we are ready to begin our last row of the repeat. Round 6 in the pattern, round 4 of the stitch repeat. So from here, I'm going to chain 1 and go ahead and single crochet right in that single crochet again, like so. And then this is all going to seem very familiar. We make a big shell in the chain 1 space. Remember, the big shell is 4 double crochets followed by a chain 1 and 4 more double crochets. So there's 3. Oh, I don't know if you can hear my dog barking. He's ready to get out. We must be coming to the end of the pattern here. So got a chain 1. Our next 4 double crochets here, almost ready. Let's see, that's 3. 1 more. And then from there, once again, we go in that chain 1 space, make sure to enclose the chain 5, and single crochet that down. So we work this all the way around again. So I'll see you at the end of this round. Alrighty, and I am coming up to the last shell here, it looks like, for that round. So we are back at that chain 1. Remember, normally we work the chain 1, or excuse me, the single crochet in that chain 1 space, but this is our funny round, so we're going to just slip stitch right to the top of that single crochet we made at the beginning. But once again, this is where it's time to bring up the next color. So with each color, you'll work a V-stitch round followed by a big shell round, like so, and then you'll switch. Now with this one, we don't need to worry about working over the color to bring it up, because remember we left off with that one right there, so there's not really anything to cover up. It's just when you make the color B, second half of the shell, that you need to pull up color A and cover that up a little bit. So let me pull that up. You can see we've got our teeny tiny little example of the stitch here. And it's these 4 rows that are the repeat. You've got the V-stitch row. These are setups. Let's ignore those. We've got a V-stitch row here, followed by a big shell row, a V-stitch row, followed by a big shell row. And this goes all the way through your project. If you make the hat, I did use some decreases towards the top here. Let me pull this up. Basically, I started shrinking those big shells and then shrinking the amount of chains in between the V-stitches. So you can follow the pattern for that. And I hope you've enjoyed the Oh My Cowl, Oh My Hat, and whatever Oh My patterns come up next. I hope to also in the future be making a pattern with this in rows, so you can look forward to that. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a like, let us know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.